Hi, welcome back to Camera Cravings. Hope you're all having a good week. So today I wanted to talk about camera cages, and a couple of weeks ago I announced a 2,000 subscriber giveaway, and one of the prizes is this camera cage, which is from NiceyRig. And in that video I talked about the fact that before I gave it away to one of you guys, I wanted to do a comparison with this, which is the SmallRig version of the camera cage. Now both of these cages fit the Canon R5 and the Canon R6. I've got the Canon R5 here, and what I wanted to do today was just go through the different features of both cages and see which one is right for you. There's not huge differences between them, but there are some, and there is a difference in costs. So I'm going to put the prices up on screen, but essentially the NiceyRig cage is a little bit cheaper than the SmallRig cage, but once you start actually building out a rig with either of these two brands, you realise that there's quite a lot of savings to be made with NiceyRig. I just costed up a quick cage, wooden side handle, and then a little HDMI cable add-on to protect your cable, and all of that came to quite a big difference in price between these two. So again, I'll put the prices up on screen and show you, but yeah, there's definitely a price difference between them. Is there a quality difference? So that's what I wanted to find out today. So I'm just going to use the overhead camera for a little bit here and show you the differences. So I wrote down just a table of the kind of key things that both of these have, and I'm just going to have a look at my notes. So one thing that I've noticed is the NiceyRig has two cold shoes, so one on each side, whereas the SmallRig only has one cold shoe on the left hand side, and I'll show you that on the overhead. Now you might say, well, that makes the NiceyRig better, but the difference is the cold shoes on the NiceyRig are basically just open, so there's just little slots carved out in the metal, whereas the SmallRig one, when you put something in, it actually has a stopper, which I think is much better because it stops things from actually kind of sliding in and out. I'll show you on the top-down view, but as you can see, it actually, once something goes in there, it's not going to come out the front. So I think that's a bit of a better design, but obviously if you need multiple cold shoes on your rig, then the NiceyRig one might be better for you. The weight of these two is pretty much identical. So the SmallRig is 0.3 kilos and 0.23 kilos for the NiceyRig one. So not much of a difference really. You're not going to notice much of a difference in terms of weight. And the other thing that what I like with both of them actually is underneath you have little tools. So I showed this in the previous video, but you've got a nice little magnetic kind of key screwdriver here, which you can use on the bottom to tighten everything up, and that's the NiceyRig one. And on the SmallRig one, they actually go one better because you get a little similar thing, magnetic, and it's a screwdriver on one end excuse me, and then on the other you have like a little hex wrench, which again, if you need to tighten things up that are that kind of little Allen key hex wrench, then it's helpful to have that extra. But again, both are magnetic and both do a really good job, so I'd say they're pretty even in that respect. Both of them have the ability to attach handles at the top, either via the kind of mounting points, so you've got various holes, you've got 1/4 and then the larger holes that you can screw in on, or you do have the ability to attach a NATO rail style handle. So both of them have that on the top here, which is a really nice feature. And then the other thing that I've noticed, another difference with these, is that on the SmallRig one, the plate that the camera sits on has a nice big area of kind of rubberized material to stop it moving, and it also has two pins to stop it kind of wiggling once it's in the cage, so it's not going to move around on you. Whereas the NiceyRig one has similar sort of thing, but it It only has one pin, and the feet, I'll show you some B-roll, the kind of rubberized bit is a little bit less good, I would say. There's two little bits and it's not as big an area. And I do find there's a little bit more movement. I mean, it's still pretty solid, but it does move slightly more. In terms of the shape of them, they're both quite similar, but as you can see, if I show you on the overhead, there is a difference in the kind of shape in terms of where the cutouts are on the top. The NiceyRig one, I think, gives you a slightly better view of your top screen if you're looking at that at all. Both of them allow for really good access to the battery ports and also all of your ports on the side, so HDMI, microphone ports, all of that, headphone jack, and also the card slot on the side. Both of them allow that really nicely. Both of them have a lot of mounting points both on the side and on the top. And again, there's differences, but they both will give you quite a good amount of flexibility. They both also have integrated Arca Swiss plates at the bottom, so the shape of the bottom of them allows you to mount it onto an Arca Swiss compatible tripod, which I really like because that's what I use for all of my stuff. And there's also strap holes on both, so the SmallRig one has kind of a little metal bar on this side, and then on the other side it's got a little hole here. So again, you can attach, if you wanted to attach like a separate strap, like a Peak Design hand strap or something, if you didn't have a wooden handle, you could do that. And the same applies to the NiceyRig. It's got a hole here for it, and then same on the other side. So either one will do that. In terms of the quality of them, I'd say they're pretty comparable. There's not a huge amount to choose between them. I would say that the SmallRig feels a little bit better quality in terms of the thickness of the kind of machined metal part of it, and also just the some of the finishes are just a little bit nicer, a little bit better quality. The NiceyRig one feels a little bit sharper to the touch, and like things like this part on the SmallRig, I'll see if I can show you on the overhead, really nice smooth kind of machined angles on the side there, and actually that fits the camera grip really nicely, whereas on the NiceyRig you've got a similar thing, but it's just not quite as nicely curved, and it just doesn't fit the camera quite as well. Yeah, overall I think they both will do a really great job for you, and it just depends what you want from it, whether you need those extra cold shoes or if you're just in the market for a cage only. Obviously SmallRig's going to do you just fine, but I have found that the SmallRig ones, they do really start to add up once you start adding extra accessories. But yeah, it's nice to see that there's some kind of budget alternatives out there like this that are going to give you a similar performance, and it's not going to cost you as much. Obviously there's cages on the market that are much more than both of these. These two companies are kind of sort of middle to lower end. There's things like the Condor Blue cages and other manufacturers that do some really good stuff, but that's going to set you back a lot more money. So it's definitely worth considering this one, and I'll put links to both of these down in the description below if you want to check either of them out. And yeah, if you go on like NiceyRig's website or SmallRig's website, they give really helpful suggestions as to what products will go best with these. Like for example, I've got a little NATO handle here that goes on NiceyRig, and actually you can kind of mix and match these. They will work on each other, so this works on the SmallRig cage. So anyway guys, I hope you found that helpful. I will be announcing the winner of this NiceyRig cage and also the Andy Cine monitor in my next video, either later this week or next week. So look out for that one. If you haven't already, please do consider subscribing. If you've enjoyed this video or got anything useful out of it, please do give it a like down below. It really helps the channel. And comment with any questions you've got on either of these two cages. I'll try and answer them. I try and answer as many questions as possible. And I look forward to seeing you next time.